Testing 1, 2.
Good morning, everybody, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the holidays. We will now start our hearing with the Committee of Public Property and Public Works. For the record, we will be holding Bill number 190940. To my left, we have a quorum is present, and to my left is Councilwoman Ginn, Councilman Greenlee, to my right, Councilman Dom. Clerk, would you please read the titles of the bills for today's committee hearing?
Bill number 190436, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to grant to the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation a temporary construction easement on a portion of the parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by Girard Avenue, North 34th Street, and Zoological Drive, commonly known as 3400 West Girard Avenue. And Bill number 190892, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to convey to the Philadelphia Authority for Industrial Development all or a portion of certain parcels of land in and about the area bounded by University Avenue, Civic Center Boulevard, Hamilton Street, and 34th Street for further conveyance, and authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to enter into a lease agreement to lease back a portion of the property to the city, and an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to convey to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority all or a portion of a parcel or parcels of land in and about the area bounded by South 50th Street, Pentridge Street, South 51st Street, and Willows Avenue. And Bill number 190937, an ordinance officially naming and designating the Cobbs Creek Community Environmental Education Center located at 700 Cobbs Creek Parkway in the City of Philadelphia as Carol Williams Green Community Environmental Education Center. And Bill number 190942, an ordinance authorizing the Commissioner of Public Property on behalf of the city to enter into an amendment to a lease agreement with St. Agnes MOB LLC for use by the city of all or a portion of the premises is located at 1930 South Broad Street under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. We will now hear testimony on our first bill. It's bill number 190436. If somebody from the administration is here to testify, you may state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman Heenan and other members of the Committee of Public Property. My name is Dominique Casimir. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Public Property. I'm here to testify in favor of Bill number 190436, authorizing the city to enter into a temporary construction easement with PennDOT for the parcel located at 3400 West Girard Avenue. This property is needed to be utilized for the next 3 years as a construction staging area for PennDOT work crews as they construct improvements to the PennDOT-owned bridge at 34th Street and West Girard Avenue. PennDOT has stated that these improvements are necessary for the safety of the public, and this site will avoid closures to other major areas and roadways leading to the Philadelphia Zoo. The Department of Public Property supports this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask that City Council approve Bill number 190436. I'm requesting a suspension of all rules as to follow for the first reading at the next session of Council. Thank you, and any questions, I am happy to answer them.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone on the committee wish to have any questions? The chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you very much. I've had meetings with the zoo,
with Ken Woodson and the president about this whole area of what makes it safe and better for all concerned, and we're happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Is there anyone here today that wishes to testify on Bill number 190436? That being none, we will now move to Bill number 190892. Let me state your name again for the record
Sure, no
regarding this
worries.
bill and proceed with your testimony.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and other members of the committee. My name is Dominique Casimir, and I am the Deputy Commissioner of Real Estate for the Department of Public Property. I'm here to testify in support of Bill number 190892. I am joined here today by Beverly Woods, Assistant Managing Director for Health and Human Services, and Tom Dalfo, Senior Vice President at PIDC. This bill authorizes the city to convey 2 parcels located at 451 and 501 University Avenue to the Philadelphia Authority of Industrial Development, also known as PAID, for further conveyance to the University of Pennsylvania, which I will refer to as Penn, and the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which I will also refer to as CHOP, at fair market value. These properties include the Medical Examiner's Office, which I will refer to as MEO, located at 501 University Avenue, and a facility located at 51 University Avenue used by West Philadelphia Community Mental Health Consortium, also referred to as the Consortium, a community-based organization that provides medication-assisted treatment for people recovering from substance abuse disorder. The sale of these properties will result in a series of transactions. The MEO site will be subdivided into 2 parcels. One portion of the MEO site will be conveyed to Penn and CHOP, who will construct an employee parking garage on a portion of the MEO site adjacent to the existing Penn and CHOP garage. Penn and CHOP will construct a fully fitted-out medication-assisted treatment facility within the new garage. The city will enter into a 29-year, 11-month lease of the medication-assisted treatment space at $1 per year rent. The city will also receive 10 parking spaces in the garage for use by the medication-assisted treatment provider staff at no cost. The city will have the option to extend this lease for a total term of approximately 90 years. CHOP will acquire, remediate, and demolish the existing MEO building and construct a new facility on it. While this facility is yet to be designed, at a minimum, it will be equivalent to 75% of the maximum development capacity of the site permitted by its proposed new zoning classification, CMX4. Penn will acquire, remediate, and demolish the building the consortium currently occupies. The site will be incorporated into Penn's institutional district and is the case with CHOP. The facility is yet to be designed. It will, at minimum, be equivalent to 75% of 400% of the floor area ratio, FAR, for the site consistent with Penn's institutional district plan. Both Penn and CHOP will enter into economic opportunity plans for all development that occurs on these sites as a condition of the agreements negotiated. As a recap, these transactions will result in a substantial financial benefit to the city: a modern medication-assisted treatment facility and 2 parcels to support continued investment and expansion of 2 world-class medical research and treatment institutions. Let me end my testimony by noting that this ordinance, introduced by Councilwoman Janie Blackwell, represents the accumulation of a 4-decade process to reposition the former Philadelphia General Hospital and Civic Center sites in West Philadelphia. In 1979, Councilman Lucian Blackwell introduced the first piece of legislation authorizing the sale of a portion of the PGH to site paid. Today on the site stands CHOP's Abramson's Research Center, the Wood Building, the Children's Seashore House, and both Penn's Clinical Research and Biomedical Research buildings. Over the intervening 40 years, the city, PIDC, Penn and CHOP, and Councilwoman Blackwell have carried on that process started by Councilman Blackwell to great effect. In that time, Penn and CHOP have invested nearly $5 billion to develop more than 6 million square feet of some of the world's preeminent medical treatment and research facilities, creating more than 17,000 jobs in the process. In 1979, no one could have known that the yet-to-be medical centers on these sites would one day lead to breakthroughs in medical treatments and pediatric care, including cancer, immunotherapy, proton therapy, and most recently, gene therapy. And among many other advances, there are quite literally too numerous to mention. What they had was a vision, and what these transactions could yield, not only for the city of Philadelphia and its citizens, and I dare say the global world, global citizens. The transactions presented today will further that vision and create new space where the medical breakthroughs of tomorrow's will be discovered. I ask the committee to consider this bill favorably and that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at the next regularly scheduled meeting of council. I'd also like to take a personal moment to thank Councilwoman Blackwell, PIDC, the administration, Penn and CHOP, for really coming together in a professional manner to make this transaction come to fruition. Thank you for the opportunity to testify, and Beverly, Tom, and I are happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this ordinance.
Thank you for your testimony. I'd like to hear from Mr. John White, if you could come up. State your name for the record and begin with your testimony. I'd rather, before we go into any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, council members, Councilwoman Blackwell. I was taken aback a little bit when the previous speaker said it was a 40-year process. I'm not sure I'm aware of any process that would take 40 years. But the consortium, once it was decided that we were going to be relocated from Philadelphia General Hospital, the board and staff had maintained the position that we should receive ownership of the property. Every administration that we have engaged, and I started, ironically, December the 3rd, 2001, so this would be my 18th anniversary. And from the beginning, we began to try to work to see if we could acquire the property at 451 so that we could use it as an asset to assist us in our financial situation. We know now that that's not a possibility. But I want to congratulate this administration because you're the first who thus far have kept their word. Particularly grateful to Ms. Woods and to Mr. Tumar Jackson for making sure that this administration stayed on point. They told us that we would be moving into a brand new state-of-the-art facility, that they would give us assistance with respect to our financial capabilities so that we could continue to grow. What we do now at that location at 451 University Avenue is not only a treatment center for medication-assisted treatment, but it's also an outpatient clinic for those who are suffering from any other types of addiction. We've supplemented that, and I think council would be very interested in this, that we now have a computer center. So we're able to provide computer literacy to the members of 451. We launched an in-house integrated care program where everyone who comes through our doors is able to have a physical exam and be referred to their own physician if there are any undiagnosed diseases that we identify. They're accompanied to their doctor by buddies, and their buddies are also members of our medication-assisted treatment program. And so I think that you will see that the consortium, by way of the services that we provide and the quality of services that we provide, as it was indicated, it was vital to the city for the CHOP and for the University of Pennsylvania for the research capabilities. I would also add that it is vital for the consortium to have a facility that is going to be up to standard, going to offer people a real opportunity to cure their addiction and to move on for the better parts of their life. With me are Eric Silverman, who is my Vice President for Finance, and Ms. Patricia Brooker, who is the Vice President for Operations. A special thanks, however, does go to Councilwoman Blackwell, who has stood by our side every step of the way, every day, to try to make this happen. The trust that we've been able to build with this administration is unlike what we've experienced in previous administrations. I'd like to believe that when someone gives their word, I'm old school, Bill, that someone gives their word, they mean it. And I can tell you that the people who I join here at this table have done just that. And I would hope that their cooperation will continue to be above board, honest, and truthful with us as well. I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your time.
Thank you. No? Okay. Is anyone on the committee have any questions for the panelists here today? The chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Chairman Heenan, and good morning, and thank you for your testimony. I have a question, I guess, on your testimony about the, it says it'll be conveyed at fair market value consideration. What's the definition of that today?
Well, I will say fair market value, so we did receive appraisals on the building.
That's good.
Two for each site. And the combined value of the sites came to $46,525,000. The credits that we are still negotiating upon, obviously there's a lot of things pending, is the construction and fit out of the medical assisted treatment space, and also the estimated remediation and demolition of the building. So those are the things that are still on items on the table that may be a credit against that value.
So hopefully when this transaction goes through, the proceeds for this sale, where do they wind up?
In the general fund.
General fund, which is about in the range of 40 to 46 million, we'll just say at this point. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Anyone else on the committee? Is there anyone else here today who wish to testify on bill number 190892? You may approach the bench.
Where did they say the money was going for? That's the balance. Where did they say it was going?
Yes, Ed O'Donnell, and what I'm going to say applies to all public properties, but including this one. But first, I and millions of people in this city want to thank Councilwoman Blackwell for her dedication to helping the poor. She's like Mother Teresa. She gets up every day to serve. She doesn't have to be mayor, governor, and she's been a tremendous inspiration to the poor, the weak, the lonely, and the lost. Now, on public properties, please help with this. I'm allergic to secondhand cigarette smoke, as are many people. And a lot of them, my father was a doctor in Delaware, went to Yale and Yale Med, he's a pediatrician, but double allergy. A lot of people don't know they're allergic to secondhand cigarette smoke.
The general fund.
I get one puff blown in my face, I get a migraine headache. Please, all public properties and every other thing you do, try to crack down on cigarette smoke. The police will tell you it's a gateway drug. People start with that and alcohol, then they move to the harder drugs. The cost of it, $7, $8 a pack. It bankrupts the people who spend the money on it. And then they litter the countryside. It's just, and secondhand cigarette smoke gives you lung disease, emphysema, cancer, death. So everything we can do, we need to crack down on cigarette smoking. The laws are not being enforced. You're not supposed to smoke at the bus station. But they don't enforce it. So I get on the bus in the summer, take a nice trip to the beach for suntan oil, sun, ocean, healing. I get a horrible migraine headache for the whole trip. So anything you can do on public properties, private enforcement, please crack down on the cigarette.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here today. Can you
Good
state your
morning,
name for the record, sir?
Good morning. My name is Jihad Ali. I'm here with Southwest Philadelphia District Services. Good morning, Mr. Chairman and other members of the board. I'd like to say, follow up on the other speaker. I'd like to thank the councilwoman. I just would also add to his comments that the councilwoman is available to help all people. There's a comic book hero, Superman, that when I came up, they used to say, with great power comes great responsibility. And I've always thought about that with the councilwoman because she's always taken that responsibility and took care of everyone. She never stopped anybody from exercising their constitutional rights. And that's exactly what I'm here today to do. I'm here today to talk about this bill, 190892. Knowing I'm very familiar with Penn, and I also want to acknowledge the former speaker, Mr. John White, who's a legend in our community, who in the African American community, he was on the forefront. Since this bill is looking into the future of 90 years, we need to only look back for the past 30 years to see the kind of work that he did, Lucian Blackwell did, Senator Williams did. We just had so many great heroes back in the day. And John White is one of those heroes, and I just want to acknowledge that for the record. I know about his good work that he's done with the population that he services, and I'm very familiar with Penn. I'm very familiar with CHOP. I think they're outstanding institutions. I think they do a phenomenal job in the city of Philadelphia. I think CHOP is rolling out some new initiatives to do some work with the asthma-related population, which is a killer in the African-American community, as well as other communities, but it really takes hold in the African-American communities because they don't have the resources to remediate those causes, the triggers of asthma. And CHOP is taking some steps to do that, and to date, they've done an outstanding job. Penn is doing phenomenal work in the city. They're doing, they have several programs, thanks to the councilwoman. They have the Penn First program that was initiated on the new patient pavilion. They're trying to do outstanding things in terms of the building trades. So there's a lot of accolades that go around for both of these institutions and the work that they do. But I want to talk about this transaction, and I'm just going to defer to the Councilman Dom because he's a lot more experienced than me in this terms of development. But I wanted to just look at the transaction in my terms because this process is designed to have you, leaders of government, pass forth bills, and it also gives the opportunity for citizens to come down and question these bills. So if we look at this transaction, the first, in terms of months, because it's 29 years, 11 months, and it's just easier to refer to the months. The first transaction is 359 months. Then there's 2 additional leases for another 718 months. When we add all that together, we have 1,077 months. Divide that by 12, we have 89.5 years, and that's why in their comment, Dominique mentioned the 90 years. So just looking for the 90 years, which is 2109, I'll be optimistic and say, God willing, I'll be here in 2109. But I really want to speak to the future. And the future, because the future will be in these words that I'm speaking today, when we're all long and gone. And I recently had a close date of death that, by God's grace, I'm still here. But if we look at 2109, I want the record to reflect that we were here talking about opportunities for African Americans and other minorities in this city. Typically, the city has the economic opportunity plans, and Dominique, when she spoke, she mentioned that there's an EOP plan. I just want to be sure that it's going to be attached to all the parcels. And the other issue that we have with the EOP plan, the numbers is a challenge for the institutions to achieve these plans. And so when you talk to the institutions, whether it's CHOP or Penn, they have the willingness, they have the muscle, but the problem, the roadblock that they're coming into, and I'm saying this respectfully, Councilman Heenan, is really the building trades. Because the building trades are unbudging on these issues of diversity. And I've asked countless times, if we look around the city, you look in council, you look at CHOP, you look at Penn, we're going to see a diverse population wherever we look. We just don't see that when we look at building trades. And one union, the Carpenters Union, is some of the ones that don't really want to come to the table. So we really would like to have some pushback from leaders in government that it's not the institutions that are fighting, are opposing us. The institutions want what's best. But like Dominique said, this is a negotiation. The institution told you, well, we're going to be doing, we've been working, we have $5 billion that we put in, 6 million square feet of space. Yeah, they have benefit to the city. But there's a two-sided table. Both sides benefit. The institution benefits, and then the city benefits. But we really want to see the population benefit because theoretically what we're talking about, this EOP plan, unless there's something else to come out in the future, we're only talking about the construction phase. And if we look at the institutions through the work of Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown, she had the institutions, you had to look at the diversity of the boards. That step is missed in this process. But when you look at the diversity of the boards, when you look at Penn, CHOP, this is some of that real talk, Councilman, that that we've had over the years. When you talk about real talk, when I look, I don't see black people. I don't see black males. I don't see black females on the leadership. We see the lower level guys, and it's not going to be until government says, make this happen. So I'm here, as I said, to speak to the record and to speak to the future. So when 90 years from now, when somebody looks back, these words will be true, that we spoke truth to power to say, what about us? So that concludes my comments today, and if you have anything to say, I'm happy to answer.
All right. Thank you for your testimony. Before I recognize Councilman O, I also want to recognize that the committee is joined by Councilman O and Councilman Squilla as a part of our quorum. Now, Councilman O.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just want to make it a point of information, which I think you do know this, but the council has already passed a bill. I'm proud to have been the author of the bill that addresses in part what you're saying, that under the law that we have in Philadelphia, that if there is a disparity study that shows that there is an existing qualified population of skilled workers who can work on these construction projects, which there's an EOP plan on. If the project does not have, without excuse, the requisite number of workers, for example, if there's a city-sponsored project, there's an EOP plan, and this disparity study says that within this region, 37% of the population, African American, Latino, whomever, women are eligible, they're qualified and skilled, that they have to be on the job site. And if they are not, that anyone can come to the council can have a hearing to allow for the information due process to be brought forward, and if they are failing, that the funding of that project can be withheld, can be stopped. The project can be stopped. I do think that is an important law. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it passed unanimously within the council, but it is up to people such as yourselves who are very concerned about this issue to bring it forward, because it is a tool. The question is whether the tool will have an impact, but I think at least on my part, what you're saying is of great concern, and I think on behalf of the whole council, it is a concern. But I think we do have a way through this mechanism to show that there is in fact a tool to stop, to halt this project. I know Councilman Blackwell on her own, separate and apart, has put together a tremendous program of having qualified minorities on the job site. It was, to me, an amazing thing that she did. It was something that was done voluntarily. How she did it, my hat's off to her. But I was hoping that we'd see more of that as things would continue. So I just wanted you and the public to know that there's a tool, there's a willingness on the part of our council and our government, but people have to use that tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman, can I just make a comment to that? Thank you for pointing that out. And I just would like to remind you, I may be one of the oldest guys in this room right now, but there was a time when we had a problem with the police department in the African American community, and that was police brutality. And one of the things that changed that was when Commissioner Tucker came in here, the former CIA director, he came in here and he changed the process and made a complaint process, but he advertised that. And the fact of the matter was, so people knew that there was a procedure that they could file a complaint. So what's missing from that was the marketing of this complaint procedure for that, because that would empower not just people like me, but individuals that's trying to support their family. They would know that there's a complaint process for me to lodge with council people. So I think we should put more effort in getting that word out there.
I appreciate that. I'll take a crack at the press. I think they said the most important thing I've ever done is do a resolution apologizing for a broken thumb off a terracotta warrior. If they don't publish this stuff, if they don't tell readers and the public the more important things that are done that are impactful to them, then it's very hard for us to educate the public about their options. I do try, I put it on Facebook, Twitter, I go to events, I talk about it. It's like a drop in the bucket. But, you know, with your network and your access to some of our, you know, outstanding groups, civil rights groups, you know, workforce groups, it would be super helpful. I have the same problem with veterans things that I do. We pass things that help veterans, but there isn't a ability to kind of get it out to the public. But thank you for saying that, and you know, I hope that we'll be able to get this information out so people will be able to participate in their government. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman. Is there anyone else here for Bill number 190892?
Mr.
That being
Chairman.
none, Chair recognizes Councilwoman Blackwell.
Thank you. Let me thank everyone for the kind remarks they made about myself, and certainly the kind remarks they made about my better half, Lucian Blackwell. And certainly, I support all that has been said. It's amazing, but as long as we still have discrimination in this country, we still have this battle. We have to fight for it while we try to work with everyone. I'm so pleased to work with my institutions. I was just honored by Penn just last night, and the president was there, and I've been honored by Drexel and the Board of Trustees, and as well as USB. We're overjoyed to work with them, and I thank everybody again for the kind remarks, but we also understand that the battle still wages, and certainly what Councilman O, the battle, I'm sorry I won't be here with you, but the battle still wages, and we have to still try to make life equal for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now move to Bill number 190896. May you state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony?
Sure. Good morning, Chairman Heenan and other members of the Committee on Public Property and Public Works. My name is Dominique Casimir. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Real Estate for Public Property. I am here to testify in favor of Bill number 190896, authorizing the city to convey 724 South 50th Street to the Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority for further conveyance. The property was conveyed to the city in 1983 by the Philadelphia Housing Development Corporation, which is now referred to as PHDC. PHDC subsequently conveyed the property a second time in 2011 to a private individual. The second conveyance created a cloud on that person's title to the property. The proposed nominal conveyance would allow PRA to further convey good and clear title to that person. The Department of Public Property supports this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask the City Council approve Bill number 190896. I am requesting a suspension of all rules so as to follow for the first reading at the next session of council. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Anyone on the committee wish to ask any questions of Bill number 190896? Anyone else here today wishes to testify on Bill number 190896?
Mr. Chairman, we're happy to support it.
Thank you, Councilwoman. We will now move to Bill number 190937. Does somebody from the administration, Parks and Recreation, wish to testify on Bill number 190937? Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Heenan and members of the Committee on Public Property and Public Works. My name is Aparna Palantino, Philadelphia Parks and Recreation Deputy Commissioner. I'm here today to testify on Bill number 1909737, an ordinance renaming and designating the Cobbs Creek Community Environmental Education Center located at 700 Cobbs Creek Parkway in the City of Philadelphia as the Carol Williams Green Community Environmental Education Center. While we agree that Ms. Williams Green should be honored for her great work, the Department of Parks and Recreation has a long-standing policy for renaming facilities under the jurisdiction of the department. This policy stipulates that a minimum of 10 years needs to pass following a person's death before a facility within the Parks and Recreation system can be named in their honor. Therefore, we would be more than willing to consider other viable alternatives that will honor Mrs. Williams Green's longstanding commitment to the Cobbs Creek Environmental Center. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. At the end of your testimony, you say about willing to consider other viable alternatives. Do you have any other alternatives at this point? Do you have any suggestions about?
In other facilities, we've dedicated a portion of the site, something that's the most significant to a person's legacy. So we would work with the councilwoman's office and the community to designate an appropriate amenity on site.
Can you speak a little bit more in the microphone? I'm sorry.
Sorry,
I'm getting old here.
So we'd reach out to the councilwoman's office and the community and arrange for a discussion to determine what amenity on site would be most suitable, or perhaps in the community somewhere, what type of recognition that would be. I apologize, I don't have an answer today.
All right. And have you had conversations with the councilwoman or the community
We
on
have
this?
not as yet, no.
Wouldn't that, no offense, but wouldn't that have helped as we sit here today?
Yes, unfortunately, this was introduced without our knowledge
Okay.
originally.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else on the committee wish to speak on Bill number 190937? Chair recognizes Councilman McGinn.
So there's no other facility that is named after a living individual, is that correct?
Not an entire site. There are portions of sites that have been dedicated.
And that's something that could be an option?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I know Councilwoman Blackwell is here. Is there anything, Councilwoman, that you'd like to add to this? Or is it something that you and the department and the community wish to have dialogue and conversation on?
Frankly, I did not consider that, didn't think about it, that the city's policy is to do it with people who have passed away. Mrs. Carol Chu Williams Green has been around for a long time. Many of us know her. She was in here fighting for money. I remember when David Cohen, head of Comcast now, was standing at the fence, and she went over to him and talked about money for that center. Oh boy, she was one of those folks. She would come up to anybody. But I'm happy to always work with the city. I don't know how the people feel. I think there are 4 people here to testify, I've just been told. And I would ask that the committee hear them, and then maybe we'll ask them what they think and go from there.
Okay.
If that's okay.
It's fair enough.
Thank you.
We can, revisit this towards the end of the hearing, and
Thank
discuss future alternatives and conversations and discussions with the community, Parks and Recreation, and yourself. I think that's a good idea. Anyone else on the committee have any questions for the Department of Parks and Recreation? Thank you for your testimony, and if you could hang around for a little bit longer, we'd appreciate it. I'm going to call the panelists to come up is Victoria Ackerson, Representative Ronald Waters, and Jared Golston. Could you please come forward,
Tell them, Jackie.
state your name for the record, and you may proceed when ready with your testimony. And Jackie Williams, if Jackie Williams is available, very good.
Okay, good morning. My
Good
name
morning.
is Victoria Hogro Atkerson. I'm a writer and an author, also a community activist. I'm here to talk about a project that I'm most passionate about, and that's the Cobbs Creek Environmental Center. This past Sunday, I listened to CBS Morning News talk about how wonderful GPS was and how absolutely fabulous it was, which it is because it affects our lives every day. But the one thing they did not say was that a black woman invented that application that we use every day of our lives. And that goes in use also, we use it in our cars, but it's also used in the internet. It's also used on our grid that allows us to have energy every hour of the day unstopped. She is one of the most important hidden figures in our history. Today I'm here to talk about Philadelphia's hidden figure, which is Carol Williams Green. She has been an inspiration to the Cobbs Creek community for many years. We have been working with the city to try to establish an equal partnership for the 501c3 and the charitable organization that we run from that place. Carol Williams Green was responsible for initiating the idea of this environmental center. She walked those grounds with her children for many years. She was a resident of Cobbs Creek. She loved that park. She was an educator in the city. She loved science, which she taught in the Philadelphia school system, and became in charge of all the science teachers in the city. Her love of the environment, her love of science, inspired her to contact her neighbors to bring them together to work on the project to build this center from the ruins that were there in the park every day for her and her children to see for many years, and other children. The place was once used as a stable for the Fairmount Park Guards, and she took it on herself to take that property, which was ruined and burnt out, and create the best environmental center we have here in Philadelphia and in many other places that I've seen. And if you haven't seen the environmental center, I ask you to go to each one of them, then go to Cobbs Creek and see the marvelous structure there. See the fully equipped laboratory that's there. Instead of honoring this woman, we told her to go away. We told her she was not needed and not welcome in this place. We asked her to remove all the historical documents in the building and all the pictures at her own expense. I watched as she took these items out of the building. We owe her more than that. We owe her legacy more than that. She encouraged 32 of her neighbors to join her in the project of raising $2.7 million to build that facility. $2.7 million, and it took them 10 years to do it, 10 years of hard work and dedication to do that. When she and her friends who had organized this place worked so hard to do that, and they began to age out, and many of them died off, she came to the city and asked for an equal partnership to use that building to create programs for Cobbs Creek and the city. She wanted the entire area of Cobbs Creek taken care of. She included in that environment the neighborhood that these children lived in, that these families lived in, because respecting the trees and the plants and the animals, the fish that lived in this creek, all that is wonderful. But she knew that we had to honor the housing and the neighborhoods of Cobbs Creek. Her 501c3, which is a charitable organization, does that. They provide programs for families that will make them better citizens, make them more conscious of their environment. When I was first asked to come on board by Miss Jackie Williams sitting next to me, I had no idea how difficult this would be and how frustrating this process would be. She asked me to come on board to help Carol maintain her legacy, the legacy that she built, inspired. I was happy to do it because I'm an advocate for Black history and anything pertaining to the legacy of our people. I happily did that, but little did I know how difficult it was going to be. First thing I wanted to do was get rid of the hostile leadership on the board and to rebuild that board, which I began to do immediately. And we have a brand new board who took on some of the challenges that we are facing. And one of the main challenges we have is to work out this agreement we have with the city, to see that we can operate that charitable organization in that place that she created. She was told to hand over her keys and don't come back. We need to do what is fair and what is right. This woman has given much to this city. Not only did she raise wonderful children, some of whom still give back to the city and to the state, but we need to honor her in this way. The building that she built to the tune of $2.7 million, we're asking that her name be placed on that building, and that the way forward for her and her charitable organization to exist there on a permanent basis so that they can do the work that's needed, the work that's required, without any more inhibitions or restrictions. We also ask that you honor the 32 people by putting a plaque somewhere on the premises saying that these 32 neighbors in Cobbs Creek helped to build that wonderful, amazing facility. We owe her that. We owe these 32 people that and their families, because they should know the contributions that their family members made to the city. I thank you for allowing me to come to speak today, and I ask you to please consider this because it would help us a great deal. It would also help the many generations of children that will walk those grounds. They will know their heritage, which is absolutely necessary. So I ask you to consider these things, and please, her name should be on the building because she deserves it, and it's the right thing to do. I'm going to ask Ms. Jackie Williams to give you a short synopsis on the programs that we design through our 501c3. And thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
Thank you for your testimony. You state your name for the record, and you may proceed.
My name is Jacqueline Williams, and I'm a member of the Board of Directors at Cobbs Creek Community Environmental Education Center. I will give you a brief history of the programs that we have initiated relating to the environment in an urban community. Through the years, we've had programs relating to the streams, the watersheds, and the wooded areas surrounding the center. Programs such as a park management program, a junior docent program, a professional development program, a senior environment corps, a Revive the Pride program, and more. We have plans for programs for the future. The community is a part of the people environment in an urban society. 20 years ago, the Founders Advisory Council, and I happen to be chairperson of that, was formed by a group of dedicated professional civic-minded women to support the founder, Carol Williams Green. This group implements programs dealing with utilities, housing, finance, legal, health, and health issues. These conditions affect the growth and development of the community's lifestyle. Thus, these circumstances affect the environment. It was Carol Williams Green who was the visionary that initiated the need to provide a facility in Southwest Philadelphia to promote education to help the community become aware of environmental issues. I'd like to thank Ms. Janie Blackwell for the support she has always given to the center.
Right.
And at this time, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you very much. I hope you consider what Harriet offered this morning in terms of support for having the building have the name of Carol Williams Green on it, because if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have had that building there. It would have just been an empty space because it was ready. It was a broken down horse stable that they were about to tear down. And it's a beautiful $2.7 million building. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony. Thank you. Representative Waters.
Thank you, Councilman. And thank you to the committee for entertaining this vision that we have for the Cobbs Creek Community Environmental Education and Environmental Center. Councilwoman, appreciate you all. I am here to speak about this briefly now because I think that you have heard so much already about this wonderful woman that is also a visionary, and how she saw an abandoned piece of property in the Cobbs Creek Park area, which is a wonderful park. It really is. I moved from North Philadelphia out of the projects to West Philadelphia and to 61st Street. And when my family moved up here back in the late 50s, I thought I had arrived. I thought, wow, look at the neighborhoods, the tree lining on the streets, and the wonderful park. My mother used to take me out there and let me sit out there with a basket of food, and we would sit in the park and just enjoy ourselves. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had a park in the neighborhood, and we really enjoyed that. I know you know all about that, Councilman O. You from out that area too. I did not know, and I don't think the councilwoman knew either, and I want to thank her for all, and she's been complimented time and time again for her even entertaining this motion to rename this facility. But I'm sure she did not know about or was not aware of this renaming. You can't rename a facility while a person is still alive. I think that's sad because there's a lot of great people that we can all think about, that we wish that they could enjoy the fruits of their labor while they still have a chance to see it for themselves. This is something that we thought of that's why I'm here, to support this woman, this visionary, this leader in our community that saw that in the underserved communities that we come from, many of the people there could benefit from the education that comes with the science of the climate change, even though there's some people that won't admit to it, but science has already said there is a change. Things are happening, things that we never heard of before, and it's a reason for it. And our community needs to have an opportunity to learn more and more about what these changes are so they could be properly educated and know how we can all get on board to help this beautiful planet that we live on. I really want to thank Carol Williams Green for bringing that into the third ward, into what used to be, for me, as a state legislator, my legislative district, the 191st legislative district. I remember when it opened in 2001, I was there, and we celebrated it. It took a lot for her to do that. 10 years of labor it took for her to get that project and get those doors open. So that's why we're here. We believe that people who do good work for the community and bring a great resource like this to the community deserve to be recognized. So we want to recognize her. And I'm hearing now, and I've been through this before as a legislator, I know there's always compromise and there's how do we get things done. at the end of the day. I watch how the council operates, and I want to commend you guys for even taking on the challenge of running for 4 more years of handling the business of the city of Philadelphia. I want to thank all of you, because a lot of people may not want to do it one time, but here you guys did it time and time again, so I thank you all. But how we work this out, I believe now, because if there's a policy in place that will totally prohibit it, I don't know how we work this out. But somewhere, somehow, I'm here to say that we have to recognize this woman and the work that she has done for our community. And based on what I heard from the Parks and Recreation's representative that is here, and there's a rule in place, unless that rule is changed, right now, your hands are tied, and I get that. I know how, I get that. But we got to figure this thing out, and we got to recognize this leader, this visionary, and this wonderful woman that has done so much in the area of the Cox Creek portion of Philadelphia. So I really would love to see this building renamed in her honor. I really would. But I talked with the councilwoman, and she's a fair person, and I know just like all of you up here are fair people too. And I'm sure the representative from the Parks and Recreation is fair too. So I want to see the building renamed after her. That's going to the most optimistic outcome that we can see come today. But based on the rules and regulations, I don't know how that looks. But I'm here to tell you that I support that notion. I support that idea. I support that plan. And Carol Williams Green, it did not put me up to say this. I want you all to know that. Matter of fact, she was not comfortable with it because she's a humble person. But our children in our neighborhood need to know that you do get recognized for doing good things. And I think that this will be a good way to send a positive message to the community. So I thank you so much for allowing me to speak here and give me a chance to express my heartfelt feelings about the Cox Creek area, the 3rd Ward, and Carol Williams Green. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your testimony, Representative. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all. Representative, good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Obviously, I think everybody is in agreement from what you all said and what we knew before about Mrs. Williams Green and the great work she's doing. So we certainly all want to recognize that. But as you heard from Ms. Palantino, there is this longstanding policy. So we're just wondering if there is a way, and Representative, and you touched on it, that there's a middle ground here, that we can certainly honor the great work that she's done, and we also know about the family and the great work the family's done in the community over the years. Maybe, for example, a community room, a program space, something in that world. And maybe there can certainly be a discussion with Councilwoman Blackwell, Parks and Recreation, and all of you to try to work that out. Because again, this would be a significant change in a policy, and not that that she doesn't deserve recognition, but this is a significant change in a policy that's been standing for a long time and it's been sort of adhered to for a long time. So I'm just throwing that out as a suggestion or a question if you're open to that kind of discussion.
I can't make the call for the entire group. We are well represented here today, and we all came down here with hopes to get the building renamed. We are all blindsided by this policy. I think I speak fairly, I speak well for everyone. We was all blindsided by this policy. I really want, with the assistance of our Councilwoman Blackwell, to be able to leave here today knowing that we don't have to revisit this again, and we come out of here hopefully with something that we all could agree upon, that at least as you handle it from the perspective of your committee, you'll know that we do have an agreement in place.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I think it's possible, I'm sorry, ma'am, just throw this out. I think if there's some kind of agreement worked out, I don't know if council even has to pass anything for a community room or so. That can just be agreed upon by everybody, I believe.
Yeah.
I see that Ms. Palantino shaking her head, yes.
It appears, Councilwoman, I'm going to pass the mic on to the young lady to my left, but it appears that we are moving forward, and which is always good.
Right.
And I would much rather now refer further comments to this young lady right here.
Okay, I'm just hearing about this policy, and I'm greatly disturbed by it. I think policy should reflect the government of the people. Policy should reflect the needs of the community. If changing a policy is necessary, I think this is the perfect example as to why it needs to be done. This, to me, sounds like the same opposition that we've been having in getting the memorandum of understanding done. It's very difficult to deal with situations when barriers are constantly placed in front of you. Here is a stellar person who has done everything any person could do as a citizen of this city. She built a wonderful science facility, raised $2.7 million to do it. She also sits on the board of directors of many of the museums and facilities all around the city, including the Academy of Natural Science, the Franklin Institute. There is no limit to her contribution to the city. And I think as people, because I'm not a politician, I don't know the parameters or whatever, but I do know this exception deserves to be amended, because this is a woman who needs to be honored. She has been embarrassed and shamed since she asked the city to take over. They took her keys away from her and told her not to come back. Go to Florida, stay there. Forget about the legacy that you have created here. There's a message in this that you're saying, not only to Carol Williams Greens, but all the families that contributed to building that place. I thank you. I ask you to look at that policy and make that policy reflect the lives of the people who live in the city, because it should be a living legacy. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to die to move on.
I just want to say a few more words. I didn't quite understand what the policy was that was introduced by the Parks and Rep person that sat down here. I don't know what the policy could be. If it's a policy to make a difference, why wasn't it a policy for a positive change in whatever they had originally thought? It sounds like it's a negative thing in terms of dealing with this policy. And why is a policy such a negative factor in what the plans are for Parks and Rec, when all we are thinking about is how can we make this a viable community center for the environmental, to deal with environmental issues. We understand how we're dealing with the natural part of the area, the watersheds, the streams, and the wooded area, but we are concerned about the people that live in this urban society. So let's think about that in terms of policy. What do we want to do with whatever policy change they were trying to make? I didn't understand what it was all about at this point, because I'm definitely not a politician. But think about how we're trying to think of this center as being a part of the community, and how can we make it a positive influence in this southwest area today. Thank you.
Thank you. If I may ask, Deputy Commissioner Palatino, could you please approach?
So, in listening to the testimony, we are absolutely in agreement with everyone here that Mrs. Williams' Green legacy should absolutely be honored. In discussions with some members and the councilwoman, we are more than happy to perhaps dedicate the community room and rename that in her honor. And I think that can be done just through agreement with the councilwoman's office and Parks and Recreation, if that's acceptable to the committee and the councilwoman and the community.
The chair recognizes Councilman Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for perspective for the people that are here, and Ms. Palatino, I think you can comment on this, and so can Councilwoman. I think it was just a couple of weeks ago, we named the Johnny Sample, what was that, Johnny Sample?
It's on second reading.
Rec Center, right.
Rec Center.
And
Second reading.
I know, and that was consistent with the policy that you alluded to earlier,
And
right,
Mission
Ms.
Blackwell
Palatino?
Park.
And I know the family waited a long time to get that, but I think, again, that was why we were trying to be, I brought up the consistency of the policy, you know? And again, no denying Mrs. Williams Green deserves recognition. There's no dispute anywhere on that. It's just that, again, it seems to me that if we can attempt to be consistent, but also do the honoring that she certainly deserves. And I'm glad you went on record saying and that can be done right away, right? You don't even have to have any kind
Absolutely.
of ordinance, so we don't have any time issue here or anything like that, correct? Okay,
Yes.
all right.
Chair,
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize Councilwoman Ginn.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And to be clear, first of all, I want to say thank you to the three of you, Ms. Williams, Ms. Ackerson, and of course, Representative Waters. Thank you so much. One, for uplifting our stories and our history. Two, for reminding people that, especially young people, that things don't happen by accident. People have to fight for these things to come back to life, and especially in communities that are long marginalized and neglected. They don't come back to life through institutional powers. They come back through life through the people who make them real, and they have to live. And we have to remind people of that. But I also want to ask, so I want to thank you, first of all, for telling a story about community, about ordinary heroes, local heroes, and then a story of Philadelphia, right? Like this is not just the story of Cobbs Creek Parkway. This is actually the stories about how communities and our neighborhoods and our people come back to life, and remind our young people and generations further, this is not an accident. Every step that you took had to be fought for, reclaimed, and then restarted up again in order for us to go forward. If we just think things are on autopilot, it's a different path. People have to fight to be in the center of things, and that's what we want. For Ms. Palatino, and I want to thank you especially for bringing that here and bringing that conversation back to us and taking a moment in a busy city council session to tell a story, to tell a story of our city that's so different from ones we normally hear. So the second thing I want to ask is, Ms. Palatino, to be clear, Ms. Williams Green's name is actually going to be on the Cobbs Creek Parkway. This is not erasing her or anything. There's a renaming, a ceremony. There can be a plaque, a formalized process.
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Yes, there can be a form, however, in agreement with the councilman's office, whatever they feel is the most appropriate memento to do that with. The room itself, of course, will have her name, but there can certainly be a ceremony around placement of a plaque or whatever actual physical structure that is.
And that we will certainly leave that in our wonderful council members' hands. So thank you. I also want to acknowledge and thank Councilwoman Blackwell for continuing to tell the history and make our sites reflective of the city of Philadelphia. And I just always appreciate you for that. But per Ms. Ackerson's comments earlier, is it possible for Parks and Recs to also give us an inventory of the named rec centers and parks?
Absolutely.
It would help us to understand whether there is a level of diversity, how women are represented, how Black Latinx communities are represented in our city. What is the actual representation, and Is that something that you can also help us understand so that we are very clear and that we are being conscious about as we seek to rename or give naming rights, that we want to make sure they're reflective of our communities?
Absolutely. We have that list, and we have the history behind each of those namings as well. As Councilman Greenlee mentioned, we were here just 2 weeks ago, and coincidentally, in Councilman Blackwell's district, a park was renamed Lucian Blackwell Park, and then the Johnny Sample, which was the Cobbs Creek Recreation Center.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
I'd also like to say, am I hearing that they're thinking of providing a room in her name? We're not thinking of a room in her name, we're thinking of a building with her name on it, not just a room with her name on it in the building.
The community room at the center would be dedicated in her honor.
Well, we want more than that. We want the building's at the name, the signage of this building. We want her name included in that.
Okay, thank you. Chair recognizes Councilman O.
Thank you very much. I actually would say I have a different opinion. My opinion is that I don't see why the policy has to continue. I mean, I think the policy that is there for a good reason, and that is probably so that there isn't a lot of lobbying to dedicate things to people who are alive, probably wealthy and powerful people who want to see their name on the side of a building. It's probably like an anti-corruption thing. I think that's important. I will note that there was a community center that was named after State Representative John Purcell, who was the Speaker of the House while he was alive. And in fact, many buildings that are not government buildings are named after wealthy donors. They're all over University of Penn and Drexel University. If you're rich enough to make a big donation, you get a big building named after you, which I'm not belittling it because it is wonderful that people of wealth will give their money to support medical institutions, law schools, all kinds of things, and they name the building after them in their honor. I do think there is an issue about this policy because there are circumstances, which you've just kind of articulated to me, about someone who's done things really kind of on her own to put this entire building and project together that is very impactful for its community. And I would just say perhaps a way to do it would be to identify the geographic location of that community and have a petition process that if you could get a certain percentage of the entire population to sign that petition, that may be a way of getting a building named after a person while they're alive, being that they're, deserving of it. Anyway, I do think that while I agree this is an extraordinary person of the community, the public will want to know that their politicians are not just doing things randomly, haphazardly, or being influenced by, their own particular constituent group. So I think it is important to put some kind of process in place which challenges, or I shouldn't say challenge, which shows the public in a transparent way that really a very large number of people within that geographic area wants in their community this building to be named after a person. And in that process, you're spreading the story of how this building came to be. Quite frankly, I never heard this before until you said so. And as the representatives say, I live in a neighborhood, my entire life. And I didn't know that, so I appreciate the education. I really want to go visit. But as the representative said in Cobbs Creek, it is so important that people of the community be recognized. So I'll ask the councilwoman of the district, Councilman Blackwell, do you think that's a process that you would agree with? And if so, is that something that you would talk to the administration about, perhaps finding a way that we could honor those who have done something that are still alive?
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you,
Councilwoman
Chairman.
agreed, yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on bill? Thank you all for your testimony. Anyone else for bill number 19037?
I just,
That-
I just want to thank the council members for allowing us to come and entertain what we're saying, and whatever changes in policies that could come out of this, who knows, that could be a good thing too. You never know where this might go. But I thank you for your time and attention, and look forward to working with y'all. Take
Thank you,
care.
sir.
Look forward to your leaderships too. Okay.
We will now move to our last bill being held or heard here today, bill number 190942. Please state your name for the record.
Sure.
and
Good morning
proceed with
again.
your testimony.
Good morning, Chairman Heenan and other members of the Committee on Public Property and Public Works. My name is Dominique Casimir. I'm the Deputy Commissioner of Public Property. I'm here to testify in favor of Bill number 190942, authorizing the Department of Public Property on behalf of the City of Philadelphia to amend the current lease agreement with St. Agnes MOB LLC for additional office medical space at 1930 South Broad Street, also known as Constitutional Health Plaza. Bill number 171000 was signed by the mayor on January 3rd, 2018, authorizing the Department of Public Property to enter into a 15-year lease for 19,312 square feet of office space that is now being utilized by the Department of Public Health. Referred to as Health Center 1, the public health services provided at this location include a walk-in family planning clinic, ambulatory health services, and food protection services. After opening in December 2018, the programs at Health Center 1 have been considered successful, and Public Health wishes to expand its presence in the building and the community. Amending the current lease would allow Public Health to take an additional 21,715 square feet of administrative and health space with the same terms and conditions as the current master lease. With the conveyance of 500 South Broad Street and the ongoing discussions regarding the future of the medical examiner's office, Public Property and Public Health have been concentrating on finding a new location that allows consolidation and space efficiency of health programs. The proposed amendment would give Public Health the opportunity to lease a total of 41,027 square feet of efficient build-to-suit space at a premier medical facility. The proposed amendment would have the same tenant renewal options and expiration date as the master lease. Even though I've mentioned that we're amending the same terms, we will currently further negotiate the lease terms to be more favorable to the city of Philadelphia. The Department of Public Property supports this measure, and accordingly, I respectfully ask that the city approve Bill number 190942. I'm requesting a suspension of all rules so as to follow the first reading at the next session of council. Thank you, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you for your testimony. Chair recognizes Councilman Dom.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Hi, Councilman Dow.
I just want to put this on the record. Is there any allowance for or needed tenant improvement for this space, or is it already built out?
Yes, no. The allowance is $75.24 per square foot, which gives us $1.6 billion. It's actually $1,633,836 that will be invested into building out the space to suit. And I know I stated office space. It's more than office space because it's for medical-based practices and facilities. Our pharmacy will go there, so it's not technically office space in the traditional sense, but it will be applicable to health.
And so then, does that cover our costs to build it out?
That is correct. It will be
Okay.
turnkey space, ready to move in.
Okay, and then the other question, I just want to,
That includes furniture, too.
Okay, going forward, I just want to make sure that our increases range about 2% a year. That's the market today.
You are correct. Like this, we will further negotiate with
Okay.
the landlord
But
to
not
reduce
just this,
rent.
any other future leases?
That
we-
is correct. We should be below market.
Right, because we have great credit. All right, thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else on the committee wish to ask any questions of Bill number 190942? Anyone else here joining us that wish to testify on Bill number 190942?
Good morning, Councilman, Council President, and other members of the committee. My name is Jihad Ali. I'm here with Southwest Philadelphia District Services. I just have two quick questions. One was, is there any significance behind the name of the LLC?
It is the landlord.
And so does the MOB stand for anything? If you could just put that in the record.
Can I respond? Medical office building.
Okay. The other question is, since this is a turnkey project, and it's going to be turnkey, meaning, what's your definition of turnkey?
We walk into the space and it's fully delivered to us. We don't have to do any additional fit out.
So the construction part of that, will that require EOP plan for the turnkey part of that?
The EOP? For our leases, because this is not a building that we own, it's a building that we lease, but the landlord is here and he can speak to it. We do know that he does have a high participation rate. Actually, his actual staff that does this is minority and women that is led, so we know of these. But it is not mandated on all of our leases that an EOP plan be in effect.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner Dominique. To the chair and members of the committee, the EOP plans that we have in the city say all development, all funds, all revenue that the city spends on behalf of leases, anything authorized by council, anything of that nature should have an EOP plan. If we can just get the landlord, so the question is for the committee is it required to have an EOP plan? And because this is a significant amount of money, this council passed a regulation, anything over $200,000, so we should have an EOP plan because it's through the gradual steps, step by step, that we're going to make a change in this situation. If the landlord could come up, thank you, Dominique, for your
With
testimony.
all due respect, even though it is not required, we do obtain one anyway.
Are we getting one for this project?
Yes, we are, sir.
Okay. And is that something that will be published?
It's on record, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. So this concludes our hearing on public property and public works. We will now go into our meeting. Oh, for the record, we are holding bill number 190940 as well as 190937 at the call of the chair or call of the sponsor of the bill to another date. We will now go into our public meeting on the Committee of Public Works and Public Property. Chair recognizes Councilman Greenlee.
We have no amendments, right?
No amendments.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the following bills be reported out as committee with favorable recommendation and that the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading our next session of council. Bill numbers 190436, 190892, 190896, and 190942.
It has been moved and properly second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the ayes have it. Bill number 190436, 190892, 190896, and 190942, all reported out of this committee with a favorable recommendation with the suspension of the rules as to be heard at our next session of council. This concludes our Committee on Public Property and Public Works. I'm going to thank you all for attending. Thank you.